Evening everybody, the ProSpartanGamer here with the SP Spartans, and tonight we've got a little special one again. I'm going to be doing several of these. It's a special that's been chosen by our special guest tonight, Jose, and he's chose for the Spartans to play Barcelona, and that's the match that we're going to see and start. So let's just show you the game plan before we get our special guest on. And basically both teams are on good form arrows, and we've got full strength side out, as you can see. Usual sort of form with Simic, Eccleston, Griezmann and the like. Barcelona with Messi, Tello, Pedro, Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets. Full strength, both teams at full strength. So I'm just going to let this play out, and then in a minute we'll welcome on our special guest to talk about all things PES and how he got involved in PES and what he made of the E3 games test that he was lucky enough to have on PES 2014. So in a minute we'll be welcoming Jose onto the show. It's a great pleasure to welcome Jose onto my channel tonight, and he's chosen for the mighty SP Spartans to go up against Barca at the new camp, which is a game that you can see playing in the background. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Jose. Hi there, man. All right, how you doing?
Hey guys, how's it going? Happy to be here, man. Been following the series for a while now, and I'm glad to now be on the mic with you.
Cool. Yeah, likewise, pal. Likewise. So, just tell me, Barcelona. Why? Obviously, you support them. How long has that gone on for?
I've been a Barca fan pretty much since I've been able to watch them. I right away fell in love with their ideas of bringing up from the youth.
Yeah.
I've always been a very big fan of developing youth, and that's kind of the idea Barca has, and also the playing style.
Yeah.
The style that Barca has. Originally, it was because I was a Ronaldinho fan. I still am. And I started watching them, and before you knew it, I just fell in love with the way they play.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, what are you thinking now? I mean, that's bad news about Pep's gone to Bayern Munich, and Tino's now really ill, isn't he? So he's Who are you hoping to get in?
It's tough times. It's tough times for the team. I think watching Guardiola over at Bayern is not easy because of what he did and what he means for the team. But I'm glad he's coaching again.
Yeah, I think it's a shame.
I'm glad to be able to see him do what he does because he's unique.
Yeah,
and and at heart he's a Barca man. So I wish him luck.
Yeah, I don't feel the same about Moisey going to United, I'm afraid.
Well, that's different though. Had he gone to another team in La Liga, I think I'd be upset.
Yeah.
I think I'd be upset, but he's not. And Bayern's a good team, so I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with our players leaving to them either. So
no. I think they could dominate for a while. No, they could dominate the Champions League, I think, for a while.
It will dominate.
yeah, no question.
I think they will, man. That's going to be a tough team to beat.
So, let's get PES is while you're here. That's what's brought us together. PES has this fantastic way of uniting the community, and that's where I first heard your voice, which was on 8-Bit Playground and on your great podcast that you do with Nestor.
Thanks.
Which I will be putting a link to in the description if anyone's interested. There's a couple really good ones. I mean, you guys have talked about your ideal Master League back along, and you've also talked about your hopes and aspirations for 2014, haven't you? On one.
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're really good listens. Definitely download that and have a listen. And every PES fan really should. So tell me a bit how you got involved with that.
It was kind of sudden. Nestor and some of our friends, they decided to launch a video game site, and it all started with a podcast. They launched their site recording podcasts, just general gaming podcasts. And one day Nestor and I just kind of said, hey, we should do a Winning 11 podcast. And so we did. And, and it right away it was our first Winning 11 podcast, and we had probably, a few dozen, or about a dozen or so gaming podcasts. And the Winning 11 podcast right away was our top podcast.
Yeah.
So, and they still, our Winning 11 podcasts are the most successful ones. So we kind of realized right away that there was a crowd for it. And then we just enjoyed it so much that we just kept doing it.
Yeah, so you're certainly very passionate when you speak about it, and it comes across very well on the podcast. And there's quite chemistry between the pair of you as well. You don't always agree on stuff, and I quite like that. It's not like pardon the French, it's not an ass licking sort of.
Yeah.
There's real chemistry between the pair of you, which comes across great. And like I said, everybody should have a listen to that. So you were fortunate enough and well jealous to go to E3 and mooch around the hierarchy of PES and Konami, and you had a game test of 2014. Tell us a bit about that. That must have been awesome.
Oh my God, man. It was surreal. It was surreal. We couldn't believe it. When we first got there, we weren't sure we were getting in, and then we found a way to get in, and the next thing you know, we went from, we're not getting in to being in front of the game. So, it was just, we couldn't believe it was happening, but down to the game itself, we were blown away. We were just completely blown away by it. If I know you've heard our podcast, but if anybody else has listened to it, I'm sure you've heard all of our impressions, and it just, the step forward is amazing.
Yeah.
It's not like any other step forward, where usually they take a step forward in a great direction in one way, but then in many ways they take two steps back.
Yeah.
In this time around, solely on gameplay, no, they've taken like 4 or 5 steps forward. It's a major leap, compared to anything we've seen up to now.
I heard you saying, on your podcast and also on Twitter, regarding it's like learning PES again. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean?
Yeah, basically, the game itself, it feels so much different. The controls when you have a ball under control, or just simply trying to bring the ball under control, the first touch is so much different. The way that the ball reacts, the way that the players feel when they move, they have so much more weight to them. It's not an immediate response like it used to be. It just seems like, they seem to capture, the thought process behind the real game.
Yeah.
And now there's much more of a thought process when you have the control in your hand as to what you're going to do with the ball. And before it was a lot more straightforward.
Yeah.
That straightforward aspect of the game is not really there like it was before. I mean, you can pick up the game and play it and have fun, but if you really want to be successful, you have to think a lot more than before.
I know the other thing when we were chatting earlier, you said there was numerous times when you thought, I've got space to charge down, maraud down the wing, let's hammer on the R1 button, and it just didn't happen. You were explaining the ball was left behind or it was bouncing off you. I mean, that's going to be strange to get used to, but I guess that felt a lot more realistic.
Yeah, definitely. There was a situation where I passed, and I spoke about this on the podcast. You might remember.
Yeah. I
was running down the right wing, and I laid a ball off to I think it was an overlapping run from Philippe Lam. He was overlapping, and I laid a ball off to him, right? And usually it was like a through pass, but it was slightly short into the path of his run, and he just kind of ran past it.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice, so it was kind of weird because I just kept running. Next thing you know, I noticed that that Nestor's taking off in the opposite direction with the ball.
Yeah.
And I was like, what happened? Like, I couldn't believe that I just ran past the ball. And you know, it's because, this is what the learning curve is going to be. Before, they would this was like the ball that had a magnet on them, and the ball would just gravitate to the player, or the player would gravitate to the ball.
Yeah.
And it's not the way anymore. You have to go meet the ball now.
I think
really cool.
the main, I mean, there's the 6 main sort of key points that you go into great detail on your podcast, which obviously we're not going to go into tonight. But I think the one thing that I'm most excited about is the team ID. Obviously, from the bit that you played, it was probably maybe not so easy to understand that with I think it was Santos and Bayern, was it, you played? And
yeah.
Did you get any feel for that just playing with those 2 teams, or?
There's definitely a big difference from team to team when it comes to the player movements. Their off the ball movement, or even the way that they defending and the way that they win the ball back, the way that they pressure. It's different. They felt completely different. I had more success with Santos. I felt more comfortable. Their style felt better to me. So, I had more success with them, even though Bayern has the better players. But just the general movement, of the teams felt so different.
Because I sort of felt, like playing in the English Premier League, which is obviously what I should be probably doing in the Master League. I'm just thinking it's going to be really strange if it's effective when you come up against teams like Stoke, who like to lump it forward with the big men and be very physical. I mean, if they can manage to capture that in the game, then that is going to be mind-blowing, groundbreaking, because also yourself with your team, if one style isn't working and you've got like different options off the bench, perhaps a big centre forward you can win some flick-ons. I mean, if that actually works in a game, because I don't really ever think that's probably ever worked in a football game before. I think you get your style and you tend to always probably play the same regardless of who you're playing against, don't you? Yeah, I agree. I got more of a feeling that you're going to be able to play in the way that you want to play. If you just go based on the impressions from E3 or from the current or the recent playtest, you notice that people they talk about things in such a different way. As far as what they experience, For me, I like to keep the ball on the ground. I'm a Barca fan, so I like to touch the ball, keep the ball on the ground, and play a very possession-minded game. There are some people that like to play that long ball, and they like to run down the wing and get across into their forwards. I heard about some people scoring some really amazing headers. I heard about people being able to switch the play in ways that you could never do before. For myself, it wasn't really. I didn't really try that out because I didn't. That's not the way that I play. No. But I like that they had success and that I had success in such a different way of playing. Yeah. And moving on from that, what are you hoping? I mean, I know you're a big Master League player like myself, and we've had many discussions about youth academies and what we'd love to see and things like that. Give us a few points that from the Master League this coming 2014, what you're really hoping.
Well, I want something similar to like FIFA, where they have where it's just a very deep academy, a very deep transfer system. I can't do with the same old stale Master League, like before. So I'm really hoping that, with the news about being able to switch teams, being able to manage a national team, I'm really hoping that they're able to implement that in a way that it gives you the option to do it and it doesn't force you to do it. It's kind of hard to really say what my hopes are because they haven't really detailed what Master League is going to bring, so I really hope that they take it beyond.
I mean,
kind of catch up with the gameplay. You know what I mean? The gameplay is so good I hope that they bring the Master League up to speed with the gameplay, and it's not like the gameplay carries Master League, you know what I mean? I hope that they both complement each other.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think one of the main cogs of Master League is going to be the transfer system and the ability for so many different players to be able to buy different people. Because I have found on this year's that it seems to be quite a lot of similar people that are only available at certain. So season 1, there's only certain people that everybody can buy.
Yeah.
And I just think it's limited it. I think for people to have a variety of teams and different gems, if you like, from the Master League, then that needs to be addressed, and hopefully it will be. Because I mean, the Spartan series, which is obviously one of the reasons how we also got together, which you spoke about on your podcast, and we've tweeted one another about. That's where that's come about. That sort of finding hidden gems that aren't necessarily the player that everybody goes for, you know? Is that what attracted you to the Spartans
Definitely.
series?
Well, what attracted me to your series is your passion, your commentary. When I'm watching your games, it's more than just the game that's playing on the screen. It's your attachment to your team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that attachment that you have to your team comes across, and the way that you celebrate your goals, the way that your tone goes down when you get scored on, just all of that. You can really feel it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like supporting a team.
Yeah.
You feel like you have that, you develop that relationship. In this case, it's not just with your Master League team, it's also with you.
Yeah.
So that to me is what makes it different. What makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's that feeling.
Yeah.
There's a feeling when you lose that game, that very important game that could have won you the league or whatever. You know what I mean? You have that feeling like, oh man, you were so close, and it's just, so yeah, that's what, hooked me onto your series,
So, you've obviously played Master League quite a lot in 2013. Who are your favourite players on this year's Master League?
I've been bringing up, I haven't really bought anybody. I've been bringing up a lot of people from the youth squad.
Yeah.
And a lot of them I have a hard time remembering their names. And it also depends on the option file that you have.
Yeah.
Like for example, I don't know if you know about that Spanish player that he was a fan, and they created I forget his name. Edu something.
Alright.
Murillo or something like that.
Yeah, I
He's
know.
a fan.
Yeah.
And they made his own player ID.
Yeah.
He appeared in my youth squad.
Yeah.
I promoted him, and now he's one of my best players.
Is it Eduardo Murillo?
Yeah,
That's it. Yeah, centre mid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah. He's not actually on my file, but I know a couple of people with the Xbox 360, and he's on their file.
Yeah. He appeared on mine, so I love him, dude. He's become a very, very crucial player in my team.
But that's what makes the Master League so special, isn't it? Because it's not always the world stars. It's for me, I've got Stimage and I've got Eccleston and Willie Santana, who are like the bedrock of the team, and they've been there since the first year, and they're almost like directors. They're on the board almost at the Spartans,
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Master League is so unique, isn't it? It seems to grip you like that.
Mm-hmm. And I just, hopefully that in the next one coming up, 2014, they add a lot more variety to the youth team. Hopefully the youth team is a lot deeper. They have a lot more players, different nationalities. Hopefully they have proper names, names that we can pronounce and that are easy to remember.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm hoping that the youth team is something that they focus on a lot. Youth players, not just in your team, but I hope the rest of the teams have a youth squad as well.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Like that would be really cool. me being a guy that mainly focuses on the youth team, hopefully there's a lot of depth in that.
I think you need that for continuity, though, don't you? Because otherwise, you get to season 6, 7, and there's nowhere to go. I mean, I know PES regenerate youth, but I think
and that's another one.
Yeah.
The regenerated players. Wouldn't it be nice if it was a different player with the qualities of, you know what I mean, like some new name?
Yeah.
It would be cool. You know, it's nice to have the familiar faces regenerate, and you know, like for example, I have Skulls on my team. He's been in my team since he was 17 after regenerating.
Well, I had to sign gigs, didn't I? Because you were had some sort of ownership rights over him, I think. Yeah. I mean, I think I've got Van Bommel and a couple others. Distan, the big beast from Everton, obviously at the back. Yeah,
you know, and it's cool to do that, but I think that it would be nice to also have a lot more fresh faces coming up.
Yeah,
you know, to be able to like you said, it's not always the stars that are the memorable players. It'd be nice to have more memorable players that are not stars.
Yeah,
you know?
that would definitely be, and I think that's the importance of what we touched on earlier of making it easier to sign everybody. So the people's teams are so different, and they've not all got the same.
Yeah, you should be able to bid what you want for the player you want.
Yeah,
you know, like you could in the old days.
I'm really hoping that will come in. Yeah,
I'm expecting that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be let down if that doesn't happen.
And what about career stats? They've got to be in there. My biggest bugbear, career stats.
Career stats need to be in there too.
Yeah, I want to know how many goals Frankie Newell scored for the Spartans.
Oh yeah, man. You know, it's they're your franchise players.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be able to put a number behind them and to be able to say how big of a legend they were. You know what I mean? Like their legacy is established by those numbers. And you know.
Finally then, Jose, as we're wrapping it up, so what's next for you? What can we expect from you in the near future?
Well, we're planning a podcast, hopefully very soon, maybe within the next couple of weeks. We're planning on bringing some guests on our podcast. Like I mentioned to you before, we're going to ask you to come on our podcast, hopefully on this next one. If not the one directly following it. I would like to hear what other people have to say about the game, because this time around we're on the other side.
Yeah.
We've played it. We have you can say we have some insider knowledge. And we're looking at the build-up of the game in a completely different light. So, we want to go back to what the community is expecting from the game after hearing our podcast, after watching all the stuff, all the trailer and all the news that's hit so far. What do they expect? We have a much different expectation because, we have concrete, expectations because we played the game and we've talked to the developers and we've talked to people and we know stuff that a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to get perspective from the everyday fan.
Yeah. So I guess you're just hanging out for the demo now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't play 2013 anymore, really. After playing 2014, so it's taking a lot longer than I thought, and this month has been extremely long for me. So
I think we're going to hear something soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we get a date soon, so that at least we know how long we need to wait, and prepare ourselves or whatnot. But I'm hoping things move forward quickly.
Well, just to fill you in on the game that's been going on in the background, your Barca has managed to beat the SP Spartans by a goal to nil.
It's bittersweet, man.
Yeah, Messi's popped up with the scrappiest goal mouth scramble you've ever seen. Not a typical Messi goal. I think that the Spartans have been robbed because we've tested the woodwork a couple times with Hedenstead and with Stimic. with an absolute worldly goal it would have been, but it tested the crossbar, so managed to just nick it 1-0 in the new camp. So so your team they've toppled the mighty Spartans.
Bittersweet, man, bittersweet.
Listen, man, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, talking about your experiences with E3 and what you expect from PES 2014. I really appreciate you giving out the time to come on here, and like I say, everybody make sure you listen out for the future podcast, but even go back and listen to the ones that have already been made. They're well worth it if you're a PES fan like we both are. And thanks very much, mate. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me, man. It's been a pleasure. It's amazing how this one game can bring so many people together.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I'm sure we'll hear from you in the future. Cheers, Jose.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.